All right, good evening to each and every one of you. In some cases, it's good morning or even good afternoon, depending upon where in the world you are joining us right now. But we are happy you're here with us. We want to congratulate you for being here on this call. This is 8 weeks of unprecedented coaching with Laurel Langmeyer. 15 chapters going through a life-changing education in her bestseller, Yes Energy, The Equation to Do Less and Make More. And that's right, that's Laurel's 5th bestseller. So Laurel is pulling out all the stops to go step by step through her new bestseller with you and help you create a clear action plan to use what you have learned to live your biggest, best life ever. And it really is time for you to find your Yes Energy. And that's why you're here, and that's why Laurel's here. We are glad that you're joining us. We want to welcome you all back to Week 2. There have been a lot of you who have been listening to the replays, going back through things in terms of what Laurel covered in Week 1, and not so much when it comes to some homework in terms of posting and asking questions, and that's going to be a really critical component that each of us engage this and do our part so we can get the most out of it and help you get the most out of it for you. So without further ado, I'm going to turn this over to the leader of this great company, Live Out Loud, 5-time best-selling author, Laurel Langmeyer. Good evening, Laurel.
Good evening. How are you, Don? And welcome to all of you that are out there. And I'm going to lead from where Don was. And like I said, we have had amazing replay. I've had a big table. I've been in many previews and out on the road, speaking to a lot of you and getting feedback through our site. So the call was great is what I hear. Love the content, love the openness of my conversation and the refreshingness of it, the expansiveness of it. I don't think many of you who've been watching and listening for years and years know, you know me in terms of Millionaire Maker, you know me in terms of our formulas. There was a gentleman recently in the audience that said, I love that you made the Yes Energy an equation. It's a formula. It's a method. I can actually follow it along, implement. And the truth is I've done that in every case, from the Millionaire Maker to wealth cycle investing to the put more cash in your pocket to the cash machine. I love formulas and equations because it's something you can follow. You can do this, I can do this, I can do this. This one has a lot of being in it. Now, the being is not going to come without action. I think those of you that have heard me speak, and again, I know I'm speaking to many, many new listeners, is there's a very deep school of thought that is called and believed that when you be, do, have, you be a certain way, you do different things, you get to have a different life. And I studied that for a long time, and in fact, believe it was pivotal in changing how I think, a lot of my conversations, my expansiveness around money, and my relationship to money. So it's not that it doesn't work. But what I've acquired over the 16 years of working in the specific finance space and teaching wealth creation is that there's a faster way. And I'm all about efficiencies. I love efficiencies. I love speed. I don't think, and I think, you know, most people say, well, you can become a millionaire in 35 years. And there's a lot of models. The traditional models are about 35 years. So when I say speed, I'm not saying that, you know, casually. I'm not saying that, you know, speed is associated to risk or casualness. But what I know that I've created is our 3 to 5 year millionaires. And so if you can be, do, have in a much quicker way and high efficiencies, why not take it on? And so what I've developed, especially over the last 6 years, was a way that when you do the right action, the sequencing, when you do the right thing, very, very, in an intense burst, right? I talk a lot about, you know, the initiation, the initial burst, this critical pushing of energy. But when you push into that space, and I'm asking you, for example, to stand and ask for a sale, to stand and ask and do something that you need to do, to stand and ask or claim that you're not going to tolerate anymore, you're not going to avoid anymore. Like, you actually have to sit back and think about it. Because a lot of the homework I gave you, I know you're thinking about it, but you haven't done anything about it. So this isn't the thinking. Thinking is the being. You can think and, you know, feel and be in that space. I need you to do stuff. I need you to do a lot of the actions and do a lot of the homeworks, because the do is going to create the be and whatever's up about that. So, for example, I'm going to use the sales example. If I have you stand eye to eye with someone and ask for money, any fear of sales, any fear or concern of deservability of money, any issues you have about receiving in your life, it is going to come smack dab in the middle of your body, energetically, in the space of what's around you. Like, all of that's going to just surge to the forefront. So in the doing while being, it creates a lot of speed. And so I think that do-be have is a much more efficient model. I know that it is, because I guarantee you money in 3 days. The only person in the world that's ever been able to pull off the ability for you to do that and how to do that in a very safe and graceful environment. And what happens is that the action creates your ability to come face to face with the thing that you have deep concerns of, deep limiting beliefs, and, personality issues, from speaking out loud issues. Whatever the issues are, there's always issues and dramas in people's lives. But nothing that I have found creates that efficiency than the doing. So another example, I've watched people for years when I first started this work, because I started so heavily in real estate, say, well, I'm going to buy real estate, I'm going to buy real estate, I'm going to buy real estate. I said, then to go do it. Because you're not even doing any of the actions that look like anyone who wants to buy real estate. If you're going to buy real estate, put in offers. Oh, but I have to take a contract class. I have to learn all these things. No, you don't. You grab a mentor older than you that has the exact experience you want. You get them on the team, and you go as fast as your feet can fly. And nothing's going to have you get to the real estate finish line than putting in offers, doing it with people that have experience. And the model of that experience, energetically too, is that there's an immediate trust that comes into that space. And you got to realize that so many of you are standing solo by yourself. Like we watched this week, you stood solo by yourself. I'm sure you thought about the homework, but you didn't do it. And if you did do it, you didn't post it. So we need you to do that. So I need you to go to findyouryesenergy.com. We put that website up specifically for you that are in this program. And you have to know that there's a closed program. By now, if you're not in, you're not in. And we're moving on, and I want this community, the sub-community of the Live Out Loud folks, who find this to be very, very critical for them and important in their life right now, to start posting your big, hairy, audacious dreams, to start talking about the things where you're stuck, to even post what you're thinking about so we can start you moving towards the doing of that action. Because thinking about it all is just one piece. You've got to start doing a lot of actions that I've been speaking about, and I give you a lot of homework that you needed to do last week by sourcing your assets and your liabilities, by understanding your tolerations, what you're avoiding, what you're blaming, where are you compromising. There's so many places, and this isn't going to get all solved, right away, but you've got to take on some places that you feel in the equation have you the most stuck. So homework, and if you don't like the word homework, call it your right action for the week, is a deep engagement, not just in the thinking about it, not just in the journaling about it, not just in the taking a few notes here and there on your iPad about it. It's really, where are you compromising, and what is the action that's going to create the right doing, that how you're doing it and how you're being starts lining up so you have the life you want. Remember, the equation to do less, make more is our goal here. We want to have that life. I want you to get up every morning and have yes energy in your life. I want you to have that committed, focused, easy energy in your life. And the only way that you're going to have it is we've got to change up some stuff that isn't working. So I need you to get really rigorous with yourself, really honest with yourself, and let's get it moving. So again, findyouryesenergy.com. It's the site that has your homework posted and has a place for you to post and make comments. I would love for some of you that are diehards in the personal development space to take on a challenging conversation, a deep, thoughtful conversation about the be-do have versus do-be have. And I put the do-be right next to each other because I know that when you're in that exact action, I've just proven it through the wealth-building principles I've taught, from, investing to money rules to the relationship rules to charity rules to, as I said, the sales process to marketing to growing a business. I can go on and on where it works. And when you put the right action right in the space, and that's what you're focused on. See, when you know you're doing the right thing, all the other limiting beliefs and all the other stuff that says why you can't do it all the tolerations, all of that compromise is going to just swirl around that action. And then that's when you take those walks of faith to say, I know it's the right thing to do. Internally, I could throw up, I could fall down, I don't think I can do it. Because internally you don't have the muscle memory, I'll call it, to know that it's the right thing to do. Hence why mentors and coaches are so critical, because they're going to keep telling you it's the right thing to do. And as long as you have that faith and you start getting some evidence in your life, all of a sudden your results, the confidence is going to start soaring, the certainty will start soaring. But at some point you got to take that walk. And you got to know that even though you don't know, like your mental knowing doesn't know that it's the right steps, your coach and mentor does. They have taken the walk before you. So again, having somebody as a coach mentor, and I know I'm being that for you right now, and I'm creating that space in your life, but we do have one-on-one coaches that are trained in this that I think are absolutely critical, that as you're really going to get serious about this, you don't take this journey by yourself. You take this with somebody who's really going to walk you through, in addition, one-on-one, through the process. So that's what I have to say about homework and posting. If you're serious, let's get to it. I want to see who's serious, and your names will be out in our findyouryesenergy.com posting site and engaging. And it isn't about an agreement. It's about, hey, this is what I've been thinking about, and I'm really, really curious. You know, who else is thinking about this? How else are you dealing with this? And that's what a conversation looks like. Conversation doesn't look like you have to be the one solving. Conversation is about a question. It's about interaction. It's about understanding. And I would say the other thing for many of you that aren't used to posting and being in conversations is the attitude to take on is just be curious. Be curious. Say, so, wow, that's really interesting that Joe thought that. That's interesting that Dennis is, looking at it that way. And, Jane says, something else. So it's not about being right or wrong or trumping other people. It's a deeper engagement, especially around this work, because for many of you, this is different work. Now, one thing I want to bring you back into the book, because remember, this is our version of a reading room of coming back to the book. And I just wanted to point to some places last week, because I know that I really went over an overview, and I want to dig into the book a little more. On the letter from me, on the XX page, whatever number that is, on the XX page, I talk about a seminar I was doing in Australia. It's under the subtitle Getting Personal. And, noticing that there was interesting energy in the room and some buzz. And, I noticed that there was somebody that was hanging on the edge of their seat. And then I'm going to read actually from the book, because I stopped. I said, what's going on? This is about, getting switched on too. And a younger man on short leave from the military stood up and said, Laurel, I've heard you speak a few times now. And I must say the impression was that you've had it all fairly easy. Now hearing you and really realizing that you've made it through some stormy patches, I find it quite encouraging. And I said, encouraging? Yes, because I know I could make it too, because you're not just perfect. I'm kind of ad-libbing some of those words, but I'll never forget that moment of, it was a lot of motivation to bring in the book, because I think a lot of you don't realize that, it's been quite a walk. And it's not just been a walk for me, it's been a walk for others. And I want to just bring that back to a point of storytelling. I think one of the things I want to caution you on is your storytelling. I've gone all these years through the success of Live Out Loud, through the, success of the books and all that we've been doing and all that I do in my life. And it doesn't come without enormous obstacles. And I think the bigger the game, the bigger the kind of problems you get to solve. And that's how I see obstacles. I think there are opportunities to solve, really world thought-leading problems. But you don't have those opportunities unless you can solve your, what I call your local personal dramas opportunities. So where I want you thinking in this dream conversation is, of all the gifts and talents that you have, what big problems did you come to solve? We talked on many occasions about you as an entrepreneur, you as somebody who wants to make more money, that you need to solve problems and meet needs and serve others, right? So all categories of life apply here. So of all the things that you're going to get up and do and serve others, Because right, like as we said in The Secret, I think we forgot that part. Do what you want and the money will come. No, it won't. Do what you love to do. That serves other people, solves their problems, meets their needs. Then the money will come. And that's a really high distinction that I think has been left out for quite a long time. That really you're hearing me say that over and over and over. It's in service of others. So just think at that level, like what you're doing just today. And then I want you to take it, and maybe that's part of the dusting off your dreams and coming to a bigger conversation, which is how are you going to get to really, really big dreams without needing to solve a lot of problems? Our world has enormous economical problems right now. We have huge political problems. We have there's just conflict. There are massive world problems to solve. Energy problems. I'm talking green, clean energy. I'm talking pollution. There's so many world problems to solve. And if you can't get above your daily dramas, how could you be in that conversation to do something that's highly effective that's actually going to create that change? Now, somebody say, well, why are you such in a business conversation today? Because ultimately, that's what this is about. This is about affecting the world. So when I say I'm, come to change the conversation, it's at a lot of levels. And the conversation has to change around how you participate in the world. And that's really what Yes Energy is, a deep commitment to saying yes and figuring out how. And not in some fantasy island way, but in a way that's very contributing and solving big problems. So I just wanted to share that, piece of the book, and I'm going to continue to do that as we have our conversation today. That all of you have had challenges. I've had challenges. The point and the thing I want you to pay attention to, this is starting into some homework for this week. So the first homework is noticing what problems, challenges, obstacles you've had. So I've shared, many of mine. I've shared, the story of my son and becoming a single mom and lawsuits and, losing databases. And, I have a lot of them. Online reputation issues from great, companies that are international that hold us hostage for, the internet sites that are up that have no truth about who I am, but, want me to pay off, $75,000. I got all sorts of things I'm trying, I'm working on solving, and our team's working on solving. The question is, what are you solving? And if you can't get through a day and noticing where are the issues in your life that you still hang on, that's really the homework question. What's the story? What's the situation? 4 years ago, I did a blah, blah, blah. And 2 years ago, I got divorced. And, and 3 years ago, my child got in an accident. And I was this and I was that. And that happened to me. And then I went bankrupt. And I was in foreclosure. Then I was abused. I'm talking all areas of your life. You got to walk around it. So where are the issues, the things that have come up, the obstacles, the big challenges, we call them big, hairy, audacious challenges that you've had to overcome, that you still haven't just resolved, so you stop that conversation. Because anytime you give conversation and energy to anything, it grows. So your first homework, again, we really need, and again, I've asked this in a different way this first week, but I didn't hear enough stuff about it on the post. I really need you to see now in a different place to look as you're changing conversation is, are you having conversations about any of those things that are past related because you haven't resolved them somehow in your mind, haven't come to a place of calm and peace about whatever those situations were? Because if they're still lingering, they're still going to be contaminating the space and the energy moving ahead. So a lot of this first, periods of weeks, and, talking to my team before this call again, saying it's, for some of you, what we're asking you to do is a lot of shifting in a 1 week period. So I'm expanding my opportunity for you to give you another week or so, but you have to engage. The only way that this is going to happen is for you to rigorously take on, like I said, whether it's a journal or, your own sub-conversation group, but somewhere this really has to be cleared out. We can't bring old conversations that have no power or strength in your life and that are serving nothing forward. You've really got to lay them down. If you want extreme optimistic energy, which is EOE is what we're going for, right? Extreme optimistic energy, you've got to start laying down some of these conversations. And I say lay them down. I said, put them to rest. Really, there are so many conversations I know that I used to have. And I can tell you it's so refreshing. All this energy and space will clear up in front of you. when you just lay them down, which for some of you, it's just to decide that it's done. And there isn't really anything to do about it. It's just done. And I think there's an old therapy model that says you have to process it through forever and ever. And, you've got to sit in 7 years of therapy, make sure every, piece of the conversation is cleaned up. I disagree with that 100%. A lot of the activities I've given you, it's enough to clear it up. And the only place that I would have you look is if the conflict involves another person that you still engage with, then I think you're going to have a conversation with them to the degree that you feel like I've done my best and I've put like 100% forward to clean up the situation so it's no longer a conflict. And if they don't reciprocate, then there's nothing you can do. But then you have to lay that down and say, done my best, and this is how I'm going to handle it. And then we don't speak of it again. Because if you see what I'm attempting to do with you, I don't like the word trying, attempting, is to have you clean the space in front of you. Because what's in front of you is what's possible. What's in front of you is all your dreams, your gifts, the possibility of seeing a team, all the possibilities in front of you. Where you are today is the result of how you have behaved. It's your past situations, it's your past circumstance, it's your past buying behavior, that you're in credit card debt, whatever that is. It's a result of the past, has nothing to do with the future, and many of you need to write that down. Your current situation, your current results, has nothing to do with what's possible in the future, as long as you're willing to shift. So your homework was to read through chapter 1 and 2, and just some of the homework. Again, what drains your energy, assets, liabilities of your energy, and just paying attention. Again, I told you we're going to do a lot about paying attention. Extreme energy and optimism is everywhere. And as we move into chapter 2, those who commit, say on page 16, so I'm just going to bring you back to some highlights of the book and then drill down into some of this so you really get it, how serious this is. And it's a rigorous conversation with yourself that's going to walk you through this. Those who commit to yes energy lead their lives from a core knowing of calm, relaying a positive energy and optimism that is contagious and life-affirming to those around them. So what's interesting about that is that last piece, optimism that is contagious and life-affirming to those around them. So for example, I know this call rocked last week is the amount of contagious optimism in the conversation. I mean, again, I had a big table mentoring group in Lake Tahoe in our building, been on a lot of outside, conversations and stages, radio shows, and my own Hay House radio shows, launched. And the amount of contagious optimism and excitement around it and the affirmation that was around it was the right thing. So what you're looking for energetically in your life every day are the affirmations. And it's not like you're speaking to people, and this is a really big distinction because your ego can get in the way of this. It's not like you're speaking to others to say, yeah, Johnny, you did a really good job. I mean, like a little kid that needs a pat on the head. That's not what we're talking about. Many times, you don't even have to speak. It's just because of the way people are showing up around you, that the way you're, being and what you're doing is creating a different result, and more people want to be around you. I mean, all of you know people like that, where they can just turn up in a room, or as they say in Australia, rock up in a room, and there's just this buzz around them. Like they know their space. They walk into the room. They take their space. They don't shrink. I mean, I model this very, very clearly wherever I am because there's enough space for everyone. And if you don't feel good about yourself or whatever, you're still in these past dramas, you show up to a room, your tendencies to shrink around those who took the power. Now, the truth is, again, I'm going to really caution you on listening to my words because taking power is not about consuming other people's energy. You have to get that. Everyone has to live fully in their power and show up that way every day to have full yes energy. So full yes energy is never shrinking. It's never getting small. It's not compromising around someone else that you feel more, that is more powerful in their presence. The only difference between other people who show up like that and you is they've owned all of their power. They own all of it in every cell of their body, and they condition it all the time. It's what I do. It was so interesting to write this book, to really have to reflect and dig back, to put an equation to what it is I just naturally do. So there's this interesting natural being that's going to happen where you're just going to behave like that all the time. the metaphor of Laurel's Big Table is very similar to this whole conversation, is that no one's going to invite you to the big table. And those of you, if you haven't heard the story of the big table, which is the name of my mentoring program, I grew up in this large, German family where all the adults were at one table, the kids were relegated to the little table. And at 7, I went and sat with my aunt, and I never went back to the little table. I always sat at the big table, all growing up. And then as you get bigger, you acquire your own seat. But it's a metaphor for life about you, many of you. You're waiting for permission, someone to invite you into the space. No one's going to invite you in the space. You just have to take it. I look at relationships. I look at marriage relationships, I look at business partner relationships, and somebody shows up absolutely in their power, and the other one compromises around them. And I speak a lot about that around my marriage in the book, because I showed up in my power, and then because of all of the sort of situations, started compromising around his power and his energy. And I can tell you, the minute you start compromising around someone else's energy and you relinquish yours, your life starts changing to the south, right? Meaning not good, like you're going the wrong direction. So even in a networking room, you show up to a networking room. Why do you shrink? Why do you compromise? Why do you stand in the back? And again, this isn't ego work. This is very, very, very spiritual energy work about how do you stand? How do you be switched on, is like, called the first chapter. And that comes from all my Australian mates. The switched on is like that high yes energy. It's totally owning and knowing. So again, there's a space I want you to pay attention to, and a lot of this week's homework is more energetic space, knowing where you shrink, knowing where you back off, knowing what muscles you need to condition. As the exercise physiology, old Laurel comes forward, we're going to talk a lot about muscle memory, because like my muscle memory is so conditioned to do this. I have to really stop and reflect on what I do to teach you how to do it. Because muscle memory is so conditioned. I want your muscle memory so conditioned that you just get up and it just becomes natural. Right now, for many of you, this isn't natural. You're having to change the conditioning of your muscles or, get the atrophied little guys, off their rear and get them in shape, which means you got to practice this intentionally. This isn't like you're just going to get up and start doing a lot of things I'm talking about. It's an intentional day. And the other thing I'm going to just, be aware of is, some of you say, well, I'm really exhausted, with all this homework you've had me do. So part of the exhaustion is clearing out the old stuff. And as you clear it out, you've got to attach to the new activity, the new right sequence. So you start generating energy. Remember, your homework last week was to start finding the things that drain you and the things that serve you and create energy. So as you're eliminating things that drain you, you have to put in at that same time, a simultaneous action, the things that give you more energy. So there's a trade out. And then as you start seeing, oh, this gives me energy, I want more of that, then your muscles strengthen to that. Your behavior strengthens to that. So let's keep going on the, this is really good, though. I have to just come back. I'm just going to keep pointing to some things in the first couple chapters, because we're only going to get through chapter 3, because I got to stay in this space of you paying attention, coming aware, getting conversation with me, ask questions so we can get going into some more deeper work. There's lots to do around here. Page 17, the energy roller coaster. While many inputs and outputs are so obvious to us, there are some that we're not even aware of. These are stealthy little saboteurs. In order to have a life of fulfillment and abundance, we have to be aware that these energy depletions are what they are so we can defend against them. So I'm going to bring this piece of the conversation in right now, which is called protecting your energy. So in this past section of conversation where you're getting rid of the things that deplete you, another way in addition to attaching more and doing more of the things that give you energy is to also start putting in protections. And protections are things that, for example, when I speak on stage, I know that there's a lot of, people in the audience. Remember, people have their own little gremlins and their own, little things going on. So if I stay open, completely open to the space of, of a lot of people, and I would even say that's in an airport, that's in a shopping mall, that's all the time. Just remember, crowds of people have lots of stuff. Is you want to start protecting your energy field around you. So negative stuff that isn't even intending, but they're still unaware and unconscious, which many people are, their negative stuff, would love to get on your positive energy. So I call it, getting this titanium shower. So And Bob Proctor taught me this years and years ago. It's like, when you're in the shower and the water's coming over your body, it's like use it as titanium to start protecting yourself. Because there are people who would love their negative gremlin energy to be all over you. And so when I'm on stage, I make sure I have high protection in an energetic space where people can only get within what, kind of my bubble field, I call it. So you can only get so close. Now, that's not to say that I can't, source, which, I source on the stage all the time, very specific messaging and, whatever I'm supposed to be speaking and sharing and teaching. It's not in my head anymore. I've done this too long. It's very spiritual, and it's completely sourced of what the crowd needs, which is why when you ever hear me, you could hear me speak 5 days in a row, you'll never hear me give the same talk. I completely source the energy, from the crowd and the need from the crowd and what they need. And I speak to them, not to what, my agenda. So there's two things going on. One is, what is your role in the world? What do you need to be putting out? And in the same time, start protecting yourself from negative attacks. You say, well, how do you close off and open at the same time? So the opening, I always say, is, and if you want to imagine this, and give you some very tactical things, is that the opening is through the top of your head energetically to God, higher power, faith, because we are going to start walking down into that next piece of this equation, where you're sourcing what's real and what's true. You can call it your deep intuition. You can call it that core knowing that I've been talking about. So you source from an opening from above, and then in the front and sides of you, you block the energies that are negative. And just know and have faith that the positive energy will always come through. So it's an interesting, and this one took me years to get. So it's very sophisticated in the space that we're talking in, but it is one of the biggest gifts that I think I ever put on my tool belt, is to learn how to do that. And we're not done with that one. Protecting your energy is a very big piece we're going to continue to talk about throughout, because when you get to your team and you get to other places of this equation, protecting yourself from action. So I'll share one more just so you kind of get it, is when I was under an enormous attack of several lawsuits. Instead of me dealing with them every day, I put someone on my team in charge of front-running all of it. So I got off email, I got off the phone, I got off all of it so I could forward think in a positive energetic space with other parts of my team to continue to create and generate. Because I don't know about if you haven't lived through any sort of legal battle, it costs an enormous amount of money, especially when you're innocent, right? Because you have to defend our great justice system of that you're innocent, because you are proven guilty until you prove yourself innocent. That's how that all works. So it was an enormous amount of just creating that we need to stay in that space. At the same time, I watched myself do that and stayed healthy through it, because someone else buffered all that negative energy. It's another way of protecting. While she was doing that, and we'd only meet very, very, on necessary occasions to have the conversation and strategy about it, and then I would turn back to only what was creative. So protecting your energy is another way to say, who is the teammate that's going to help you? Because some of you, you're going through some really tough stuff, and you're taking it on. I watched 3 of my colleagues go completely bankrupt, lose their homes to foreclosure because they took on their lawsuits. They were pissed, and they were going to fight, and And I said, while you fight, and while you have that negative energy, how do you turn back to the world in your business and your family and stay healthy and stay positive and stay in yes energy and stay engaged? And they basically said, the hell with yes energy. I'm going to go fight and win. I'm innocent. And they did win. But in the meantime, they turned around a year, 2 years later and said, oh my gosh, where's my business, my cash flow, my investments? Where's all, I drained everything to fight this thing. So I'm just saying I've lived through it. I've seen colleagues live through it. I'm going to give another example. I have to give this example because it's very strongly being told that I need to, is caregiving. And you women that are listening, you caregive all the time. And if you're the rainmaker, you need to keep making rain. Again, it's another example of where do you put your energy. I think those of you who have issues where caregiving is the issue and you are the rainmaker, you go make rain to fund the people who are going to give proper care. Number one, statistically, 85% of caregivers that are taking care of someone will die before the person they're taking care of. And again, you're draining financial resources, and there's not another source of positive money coming in the door. So again, there's a lot of places you could give me all sorts of examples where there's energy needed both ways, and where are you choosing to spend your time? So I think I've said enough about that piece. I'm going to sit that over to the side. But positive and protective energy is a big piece we've got to evaluate as you're moving ahead and where you need to protect it. And you may not solve. Here's one of the gifts I want to give you. Is you may not solve where you want to do that today. You may not know, and that's a comment you want to bring back to me. Let me help you solve what I see from my space that you need to protect yourself against. Because some of you engage in what you engage all the time, and you don't realize how much energy drain there's there. As we move on to page 19, I also believe that prayer lies not in only in asking, but in listening, a sourcing of energy and optimism. Right? I mean, so you really got to get that. Is a lot of you think that prayer is about asking. I think there's an enormous piece of sourcing. And again, if you don't like the word prayer, call it meditating, intending, that silence of affirmation space, gratitude, is that many of you are driving, asking is a driving energy, and listening is a receiving energy. So you've got to really understand the difference. And prayer, right, as Bob Proctor said in the Power of Prayer, everything that you see in the universe, yourself included, is nothing but an expression of an infinite power. This power is forever flowing into and through you. Scientists will tell you that everything is energy. I choose to say that everything is spirit and spirit energy. The strongest energy will always win and is always sourced by spirit. So spirit meaning a higher power, something that is larger than you. And so when you bring faith into this conversation, I think many of you are going to realize that the speed and the efficiency of these changes are going to come very, very clear and very quickly because you just decided. And I've been saying you just decide many times in this call because I think a lot of you are thinking, and at some point you need to stop and make a decision. A decision is yes, no, it's a choice. And you have to live a choice, and it's okay to reevaluate. And I need to say this for the women on the call more intensely. It's okay to reevaluate an old decision that really was made with not a lot of evaluation and redecide again. Now, you don't get to do that a lot. You get to do it while you're in moments like this, and I would expect, and I would challenge that this process in this 8 weeks is really life-defining for you. Like, have it be done. Whatever needs to be done, it's done. We don't revisit it. And in that same conversation, some of the decisions you made and thought were done really aren't done because they're still lingering. So have things be cleaned up as we move ahead. As we move on to page 21, energy is a constant flow. When you surround yourself with smart, switched-on people, energy stays strong and spirals up. So I want you to notice that when you surround yourself with smart, switched-on people who give energy because they're giving energy to the world, not just to you. And it's okay to link into their energy, and then together, right, 2 plus 2, right, is not 4. 2 plus 2 is 20 when you play this game right. And this game meaning, a high-intended life. I mean, a couple, brilliant people. I mean, let's just take Buffett and Gates, who put their charity work together. What a brilliant opportunity to go from, one man's wealth, one family's wealth, to both, two of the, wealthiest men in the world. I mean, what's possible and life-changing that will happen because of that result. 2 plus 2 was not 4 in that equation. Right? That was billions and billions of dollars coming together to solve world problems. So where are you supporting, again, so moving forward, as, we're at some point very soon next week, I'm going to assume all this homework is done and we're moving on. Because at that point, you only meet positive, amazing people. And then it's what's possible when you only have those kind of people in your life. Energy and optimism are the most important factors of leading a life of freedom and fulfillment. Energy wins and attitudes connect. So there's this vibration, as Bob Proctor and lots of folks in the spiritual space would talk about, that's going to happen, where you just start that contagious energy. And you're going to start noticing because people in the next few weeks should be commenting on it. And the people that have been around you, that you've been tolerating, compromising around, they can't tolerate it. And the higher vibration, that higher intention of energy you don't have to do anything. The people that have low, negative, contaminating energy, they can't stand in your presence. They will just move away. I think some of you think, I could have all these conversations with all these negative people I surrounded my life with. No, you don't. Just become who it is you want and do the activities that we're telling you, and all of a sudden the negative will move back and the positive will spiral forward. Leading with the strongest energy is not to be confused with pushing an agenda. So again, you're not pushing any agenda. The problem with the latter, meaning pushing the agenda, is a lot of times the agenda is inflexible. It means the person with one is missing out on the valuable stimuli and perhaps inconspicuous opportunities. So again, if your agenda is inflexible, you're not going to see important stimuli, you're not going to see opportunities. You know, one of our lead coaches and instructors, shared with me, she said, some of this energy work that you're, teaching about, it's a lot like What's the Bleep, which, by the way, if you haven't watched that movie in a while, it's a really good refresher on what we're talking about. But there was a part in What's the Bleep that talked about the Indians not being able to see the ship when Columbus came over because they'd never seen the ship. They'd just seen canoes and people walking in the water and, Indians on horses, and they've never seen the ship. So if you've never seen something, you can't identify with it. And so when the ship came, they never saw it because they couldn't see it. I liken that to when I tell you to be an entrepreneur and have financial freedom and make unlimited money. If you're attached to that fixed income job because you think fixed income has freedom, I mean, it not only doesn't, but you haven't been, led to see the path. So some of the things that I'm talking about, I don't want you to discard them or disqualify. Well, I can't do that because I don't know how or I can't see it. There's probably a lot about this conversation. You could repeat these calls and listen to them many times that you're not attaching to or understanding yet. And it's just because where you are in your development isn't, and I don't say this with any judgment, but it isn't very mature yet. You haven't had a lot of that life experience. You haven't done a lot of that. So just keep re-listening, just keep staying engaged. And I can tell you the fastest way that I learned all of this was coaches and mentors. And just only hanging out with absolutely amazingly committed people. Because you watch them play, you watch them live, you watch their day, you watch how they spend money, you watch how they create and attract all sorts of opportunities around them. It's because of this choice of saying yes and figuring out who knows how to help get them done. If you look at amazingly successful people, they're not down in the trenches doing a lot of that kind of stuff because they know that they can hire it, number one, but their need of their ability to create and manifest is necessary at a whole different level. So let's move to Because I Can, Chapter 3, right, the formula for forward motion. Now, so if you notice, we're starting to shift towards only that positive forward motion, which means all the past stuff has been decided. And I really expect a lot of posts and a lot of comments because there's some deep coaching in here we need to get you through so you can be in an open, forward thinking space. So your homework needs to be, again, clean that up and noticing the conversations you're still having from the past. And then the second homework so far is to start really noticing what creates that open, forward energy of the day versus where is that negative. And it's a little bit different because I want you to start putting protections, as we spoke about, around some of the places where you feel like energy is depleted and energy is being taken from you all the time. And what protections do you need to put around you so you aren't engaged? And this goes to family members where, it constantly comes into a negative interaction at the end. Like you don't have the energy as it's just, why tolerate that day? Like, do you really have to be the one engaging? Could someone else engage for you? Why is there a decision that needs to be made so that can just stop? But what I'm looking for is a day where you get pure yes energy all the time. And what are the activities that you're doing that's causing that? And then your list of what you should not be doing that's draining your energy needs to be, getting clearer because that's going to help us identify who your teammates are. When we go on to Chapter 3 and we look at the equation, right, the energy equation, which is change your conversation, right? Cool little symbol meaning the delta sign means change. And C stands for the conversation. And so just to repeat some of this, right, because I go through and I repeat the equation again. S2C times D is a source from faith to build certainty and confidence driven by dreams. So one of your homeworks was to talk about dreams. If you don't have big dreams to attach to, which motivate you to get up in yes energy and say, yes, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to figure out how. Because, one of the things that I had mentioned last week is your dreams are going to cost you some money. And your job's to create the money that's necessary to have what you want. So I want you to notice my language. Your job is to create the money, right, to have what you want. Not to say, well, I want that dream, but I can't afford it. That's an old conversation. We're not having those conversations anymore. It's a how can I afford it? And what do I need to create in the world? What problem do I need to solve? What need can I make? How can I serve the world in a way that I'll be compensated to the degree that I have the money to live the life I want? That's the proper conversation. And many of you still stuck on you can't afford it because you can't see anything. You can't see the ship. So there's a lot of ships you can't see. And that's where faith is absolutely, absolutely essential. So faith is that knowing that someone's already walked this path and journey that has no other agenda. Like I have no other agenda than you having the life you want. No other agenda. I believe in you more than you believe in you. Because I've seen people like all of you on the call make enormous shifts in their lives, become millionaires in 3 to 5 years. Our fastest million, 152 days. People, making thousands of dollars in a 3-day period. Like the results are just too proven. We couldn't do this for 16 years and 10 years of big tables and 6 years of 3 days to cash workshops and create that result and have it be sustainable. I would say it the other way, have it be sustainable if we weren't creating results. So I know that it's possible. So what part of you isn't allowing it to be possible is the question. What part of you is allowing the debt that you're in or the negative, situation that you're in to be the anchoring force of your whole life? Like you have to take back that energy. You have to decide what it is and stop being a victim to it all the time. So sourced from faith, which is, for some of you, I'm going to speak to that in several layers. For some of you, that's faith in yourself. And where I want to encourage you, without pushing an agenda, is to look towards the possibility of that there is a higher power. Whatever you want to call that higher power, I'm very clear in the book, I call it God. And so how do you source bigger energy that's bigger than you to tap into that intuition, into that guiding light? Just saying that it's there. Some of you haven't had that experience, so you're not sure that it's there. Just keep looking. So with that, and the evidence you're going to start creating in your life, confidence and certainty is going to come along. We spoke a lot about that last week. That risk is about evidence, experience, and education. But if it's not anchored and driven by big, hairy, audacious dreams, you tend to not keep the momentum going. Now, if we move on with page 28, you got to add your own unique gifts. We have enormous work to do in this. I write a lot about gifts throughout the book. You got to get the right team to do the things that you don't want to do, don't like to do, no good at, and then doing it all in the right order. So as we continue to uncover these, some of these, because I can is an attitude, and a lot that happens in the book is around that. We move into page 30. I want to really anchor you this, and so, my team's documenting our calls and giving you the homework. So the third homework is I need to put you in the situation on page 30 of Max. Max 34, he's married with 2 kids. His grandfather started a plumbing supply and service business in Florida. Father recently retired, of which now he runs the business. His wife works part-time as a medical assistant in the doctor's office. So all of our situations are true situations, and the characters are changed to protect the innocent. So what I did in this to start showing you how we're going to walk this through, and I think this could be a defining chapter for many of you, is start seeing where we are. Who are you and what do you want to be, and how does this equation lay down into your life so you have a situation? Now, we don't do this a lot in the book, so it's one of those places where I ear tag the corner of the book. I, make big notes that page 30 is the place where I want you to put yourself in the situation. So if you were Max, how would you change your conversation given the conversation I had with him? 2 is faith. So I just walk through the equation. 3 and 4 is confidence and certainty, and which you can tell is quite a big piece. 5 is dreams. Like page 33. I love this part of the interaction. I say, okay, what do you want? And he says to work less. But, I said, the man has forgotten how to dream. I said, what do you want? What's your dream? Well, my wife and I want to take our kids on vacations and have less bills and maybe a new car. I said, well, that's a good start, but even dreams have to start somewhere. I said, what do you really want? Like, really, what do you want? Do you want to live where you want to live? Is there a charity you want to contribute to? Is there a conversation in the world that you want to take on changing? So what really dream big? If we move to page 34, we talk about gifts and how do you start untangling. This was a life-defining moment for him. And then 7's the team. Who's got to be on the team. And then the sequence is number 8. So the summary on page 36, if you really look at the steps for Max, is number 1, uncover the skills. Look at exactly the person and business that he could be modeling or copying. Surround himself with only positive energy, yes, people that have wanted or have found change. That is so pivotal. I can tell you that week after week after week, and I've told some of the folks in our community year after year after year, and I don't know what's going to have you finally get that one. It is such an enormous piece of this equation and an equation of your life that has had you stay stuck. You are unwilling to move from the negative people and negative context. And if you're convincing people to come on this journey, you are wasting your time. I don't know how to be any stronger about that. And then I go on so Max's plan will be gathering those who know what he doesn't want to do, how to create that team of the things, that just are wasting his time or he can, bill at a higher rate for, and then learn to earn away from the business and the job that he's built. So there's a nice formula there on page 30 to about 37 that really walks through how one individual, it gives you a model to how to implement the equation. And I think that's really got to be the next step for you, is you got to start laying out a plan across the equation. Even though we're going to go week by week and dig in, I know that it would help if you start seeing this broader possibility of what is your life going to look like. And I want you to be really, really courageous, because some of you, I know the minute you write things down, you disqualify yourself from it. Say, well, I want that, but I can't have that. I want that, but, because of this and this and this, I can't have that. Those are all compromises. Those are all tolerations and blaming. So what do you want, regardless of how you ever think in your wildest imagination you're going to get there, and go for it. You have to. You have to. You've got to start creating forward motion. Now, forward motion, as I go on to talk about in page 38, 39, forward motion is, I talk about it, partway through this forward motion subtitle. It said, because I've sourced spirituality from a higher place, I had what Deepak Chopra called the 7 spiritual laws of success. I had the quality of intention on the object of attention. So I'm going to say that again, because I think it's a big one. I know it is. The quality of intention, so the quality of your intention, which means you're anchored in really deep knowing, right? So the quality of your intention on the object of attention. So attention is the things that you're given the action to. So the attention is the muscle strengthening, like what are you doing every day? And this is where you'll hear me say a lot of times, you're doing action, but it's the wrong action. So you can work harder doing the wrong action your whole lifetime. I mean, every person I saw on the Dr. Phil show, that's what they were doing. Most Americans, most people in the world, but I see it obviously because I live in America, I'm here with my most time, is most people think, well, if I work harder, no matter what, if I work harder, I can just intend this thing harder, right? Notice my language, right? I'm going to work harder, then I'll get a different result. But working harder at the things that are the wrong action that cause no results have you get discouraged. And most of you live your life that way, which is why I know when I ask you to get up and dream, you say, you're out of your mind. Like, I have no energy to dream. I'm too tired to dream. I can't do this anymore. And so I want you to start really getting clear. Your intention has to be 100%, just clear, quality of that intention. And then only people who have been there before you in the thing that you want can give you the right action, because you have no experience. And without experience and evidence, and we're going to move into that conversation that's going to create certainty and confidence next week, because that's where we're moving to. You've got to have the right action that creates the evidence so that certainty and confidence can come in your life. And there's a leap of faith towards knowing that somebody's already done what you want to do, and let them shortcut it for you, because you can't see how. And from where you stand in the lack of experience, you can't see how. You don't know how. You don't see a ship. And if you don't take that faith, which is a huge piece of this equation, I mean, every one of them is so significant in their own right. Countless occasions, I have taken the leap of faith with mentors and coaches in front of me to go buy real estate because, that person I'm thinking of now, he knew exactly what to do. I didn't see it because I had never done it. I had no experience to do it. Remembered saying yes, really, we're going to do that. And then we did it, and it worked. Why? Because he had no worries about it, right? That's why when I tell you to do 10 things and you do 2, I think, why would you debate, irrefutable results, right? And whether it's me or someone who has a result that you want in your life, right? A health coach, a spiritual coach, somebody has a result that you want in your life, and you stand and negotiate and debate it as if you know. That's a sign of pure insanity to me. So you've got to find a place of having faith. And then I know a woman from an audience just recently this week said, well, that would mean I'd have to trust those people. So when you say to me that you got to learn to trust somebody else, I mean, let's just cut through 7 years of therapy in 7 seconds here. You got to learn to trust you. You got to learn to trust you, that you're willing to release and lead and take back, right? That's what leaders do. So release means you're going to release an activity to someone else. You're going to have faith in someone else's experience and ability. And then if things don't work the way you think, you've got to be really, really careful and aware to not jerk things back inappropriately, but also when it is appropriate to take things back. That's called leadership. So you can put in some different words and call you better hire and fire fast. You better be very clear what you want. So I know I'm using business examples. I'll always use business examples because that's the space we live in. But forward motion is going to happen when you start having faith in the right activities, going the right direction, even if you don't have the experience of that action, but somebody else does. You've got to have that faith and expectation for that. Now, if we move to page 41, the end of chapter 3, which is where you need to be this week, what are the things in your life right now, that are the best in your life, that create positive energy? Again, we're having you reflect on events of the past. Make sure that those conversations get decided, is the way I'm going to say that. They're not going to end. It's always going to be there. It's part of your history. You're not going to eliminate. You're not going to push a delete button. It happened. Make a decision about how from here forward you're going to handle it and stop the dramas about it. Get really big dream situations. Go through that chapter on page 30, about 37, 38, and put yourself into maximum situations. So you start laying out your plan. So the plan is going to look like, actions in all the areas of the equation. So what are you going to do? How are you going to do it? And you getting very, very, very clear. Now, because we're ending this whole part 1 already, as we're moving into chapter 4. Let me see how far I'm going to take you, because it's a big one. So I'm going to have you jump forward a little bit. I do want you to read chapters. Do I? No, I just really want you to read chapter 4 and 5. So you need to be, you need to be through chapters 4 and 5. And then we'll start up on chapter 6 the week after that. So we are moving into part 2, the new conversation. Move through those chapters, get your homework done. The biggest piece, though, that's going to help you the most, in addition to continue to read and re-listen to this, is to be in engagement with us. I think a lot of you know we have all sorts of coaching programs around the house that can help you. You can be in forums. We have a free post for Justice Community. Find youryesenergy.com. Go make your post over there. And with that, I'm going to send you off. So you really have 3 big pieces of homework that you got to get done and move along. And post, engage with us, let us know what you need, and we will be moving on to week 3. And just going to keep cutting deeper into this engagement and this conversation with you. So Don and Ken, I'm curious, is there any questions that we have out there that we can solve very quickly as we're moving past the top of the hour here?
Yes, Laurel. Here's a real great question. Just now came in from Deborah in Pasadena. You spoke about certainty and confidence. Is this a fake it till I make it sort of thing, or do I have to have real results before certainty and confidence come flooding into my life?
Oh, man. So I'm not going to say fake it till you make it. I'm going to say act as if. Act as if you have the results in your life that you really want. Now, that's going to come a lot faster. As I said, if you have somebody, coach, mentor, somebody who has the results in their life already, that you can watch. So there's a model. When there's models and methods that are in front of you and say, well, that's how they do it, and you start emulating that, you're just going to be amazed how quickly a new result turns up. So your certainty and confidence is going to come from new evidence. So just keep remembering that. When you have new evidence, certainty and confidence is going to grow in those muscles. So how do you get there faster? How do you get evidence as fast as you can? You spend time with people who have already been there, who already have done that, who are already achieving the result in their lives. So you don't have to fake it till you make it, but you do have to act as if in that strength. Because here's the other part of it. Those positive, amazing people I'm asking you to go find are not going to tolerate your whining. I was with someone yesterday at a sports event, and he's a very, very successful business owner. We were talking about raising capital and, PPMs and business investing. And I looked at him, I could tell, and I said, I could tell, the two things that you have absolutely no tolerance for are people who are not willing to learn and people who are really slow and have excuses in their life. And he looked at me and he said, how do you know that? I said, well, it's because most successful people who have walked this path that I'm asking you to walk, you stop tolerating that low vibration stuff around you. You protect your energy from it. She's like, I have no tolerance for that. I don't need to listen to a story that's 5 years old. I don't have to listen to a story that's 4 days old. And it's not about being righteous. It's about taking care of you and your soul in this journey. So you're going to act as if, and you're going to have faith in other people who have done it, and just start moving your feet fast. Because that action, as long as you take faith in those actions and you see the result coming in, you'll have evidence from that result, which gives confidence and certainty. So again, you're seeing me break this down as a very tactical, what comes first, what sources the next thing, and you do only those things that source what you want. Is there another one? Let's take one more.
Okay. Brad in Oklahoma City, he says, Laurel, you must have amazing people that surround you in your life. Me, not so much. How do I get a higher caliber of people into my life if they are not present in my circle of friends and acquaintances?
Well, and that's a good question, Brad, because most of the people in your life are a result of what you've been doing. So remember, current circumstance, current people is a result of what you've been doing. So now as you decide something new, you're going to go find the people that have this. So again, engage in the findyouryesenergy.com site. Come see me live. You'll engage. You'll meet, hundreds of other people that are in this conversation. And I would bet there's business and networking groups that are local. There could be spiritual communities. There's communities of people. I know when I first moved to new communities, as I traveled a lot around the country, I'd always find athletic, biking groups, running groups, skiing groups. I would find people that at least have the same kind of activity mindset, because in that you probably find some more people. So it's trade-up time, Brad. You got to get very clear about not having to be the leader of your pack anymore. You want to be an equal in your pack. You want to be leaders all together and all pushing each other. It's just a different energy. It's a different yes energy. So I think the biggest decision is, are you done accommodating for the current community that you've allowed yourself to get into, and start moving towards the new community and just start generating it one person at a time. One person. It's not like you're just going to jump over, the cliff and all of a sudden you've, changed it. It took a while to build all this stuff that you all have, right? I could say stuff or mess or whatever, but I don't have judgment about it, but it took you a while to get what you got. It doesn't take long to change it, but you have to be intentional and non-compromising about it. So I want to thank you all for joining. Very different conversations that we continue to have, and we're going to continue to have as we move ahead. And post your questions, post your dreams, post the journey that you're walking through. That helps other people realize that you're not in this alone. And I think that's where many of you stand that have been solo, is you think you're in this alone. You're not in this alone. And my intent is that we're going to drive, all of you towards yes energy to live it, and then you got to start leading it in your communities, because that's the bigger economic impact, is having yes energy as a movement in our world, where we really take on a positive, forward-thinking life. So have an amazing week. Get your homework done. Post your questions so we have that to start with, and we can be a lot more rigorous with our time in having those questions come forward first. So be well.